G'day guys, how you going? And welcome back to another chemistry video. Today we're going to be looking at relative formula mass, which is one of these ideas that seems a little bit complex, but when you break it down, it's two major skills which I'll try and teach you in this video. So the first major skill that you need to be able to do is identify how many of a particular element are in a molecule, whatever you've got, okay? So for example, let's take a look here with this water, H2O. Well, so we need to know how many hydrogens there are and how many oxygens there are. So if we draw it out, hopefully that'll help us with this first one, okay? So there's H2, so there's two hydrogens and there's one oxygen, which is what you see just there, this water molecule. Two hydrogens and one oxygen. So to work out how many of these elements, if you just have the words, all you do is you take the element hydrogen because it's capital, and then in the bottom right of it, you see the number of whatever that thing is to its left. So this means that there are two hydrogens. The oxygen has no number to the bottom left of it, which means there's only one of them, okay? So let's apply this over here. Let's identify the elements first. We've got hydrogen, sulfur, and we've got oxygen. How many hydrogens do we have? Well, we read to the bottom right. There are two hydrogens, okay? How many sulfurs? Well, there's no number, so there'll be one sulfur, and the oxygen, there'll be four oxygens at the bottom. So with two hydrogens, one sulfur, and four oxygens. All right, the most complicated example you were ever going to get is something like this. First off, start with the steps. Identify the elements. We've got copper, we've got oxygen, and we've got hydrogen, okay? Follow the similar sort of rule. Look for the copper. Whatever's at the bottom right is going to be how many there are. In this case, there's nothing, so it's going to be one copper, all right? Now, the only thing with the brackets is just like in maths, whatever is in the brackets is multiplied by whatever is to the bottom right. So let's visualize this before I go through it. Okay, so copper, there's one. Now imagine you had OH, which is the oxygen and the hydrogen, but you had two of them, okay? And so there's two of this hydroxide or OH group. Now to do that, it would look something like this. This is two OH groups. So what does this mean? Well, we just need to add them up. There is one copper, there are two oxygens, and there are going to be two hydrogens as well, okay? And this is how we work out how many elements are in a particular compound or molecule. So then we need to know the mass of each of these elements. To get the mass, all we need to do is read the top number of the periodic table. That is its atomic mass. And if we bring these two pieces of information, what elements and how many there are, and then their mass, put them together, and then add them all together, job's done. So let's have a look. So all together now, let's have a go. So I've tried to color code these to make it obvious where I'm getting them. So hydrogens, we know we have two hydrogens and we have one oxygen. Each hydrogen weighs 1 and each oxygen weighs 16. Okay, so the relative formula mass is the mass of element 1 times how many of that element there are plus the mass of element 2 times how many of that element there are. So let's do this. So with the hydrogen, there are two of them. Each hydrogen weighs 1. So each hydrogen weighs 1, but there's two of them, so we multiply it by 2. For the oxygen, each oxygen weighs 16, but there's only one oxygen. So 16 times 1 is what we'll do there. So what we have is 2 plus 16 to work out the relative formula mass, which means the relative formula mass of water is 18. Job's done. Let's try a harder one. So this one's got three different elements. We've got hydrogen, sulfur, and oxygen. We've got two hydrogens, one sulfur, four oxygens, okay? Same thing we did before, mass times number of atoms, add them together. So let's start with the hydrogen. Each hydrogen weighs 1, and there's two of them. And so we go 1 times 2 plus, well, what about sulfur? So each sulfur weighs 32.1, and there's only one of them. So 32.1 multiplied by 1 plus oxygens. All right, well, there's each oxygen weighs 16 and there were 4 oxygens. So 16 by 4, which is 2 plus 32.1 plus 64, which means our relative formula mass for sulfuric acid here is 98.1. And that is what you need to be able to do. Effectively, how many elements, how much each of them weighs, multiply them together, add them all up. Okay, guys? Hope this helps. I'll catch you later.